Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, joined by Stephen Hornby, and today we're going to be discussing Everton's defensive problems. Just trying to figure out the best back four slash back five. We'll probably go back four because that's what Sean Dyche has shown he wants to play. Starting it off, we'll go through them one by one, players, and just give our thoughts on how they've gone on this season. We'll start off with the captain at right back, Seamus Coleman. Give me your thoughts on Coleman this season.
I think, and I said it again before, I can't remember which game I said it before, I think this is his best season since he got injured. He's come in and he's been, it's been fantastic in there. And I've got to be honest, I did write him off for last season and the season before. I thought we could have done better than having Seamus in the team. I thought he looked like he was slowing down a bit, but it's been completely the opposite this season, hasn't it? He's been, since he's had to step up. Obviously, he was out with the team on Saturday, and I think we missed him. That second goal, I think probably Seamus probably does more with that than what happened when it came to Harry Wilson on the edge of the box. So, no, I think, in Dyche's 4-4-2, it might. I think he's probably got one more good season left in him, I hope. And I think in terms of our best team at the moment, he probably fits in there. Of course, Nathan Patterson, was playing great at the start of the season before he got injured. That's you got to remember that as well. So I think Sean needs to have a look at them both in training, needs to look at Nathan and think, okay, are we ready for this sort of, is it worth taking this risk? Dropping our club captain to put this young lad in. I think maybe for the rest of the season, just to keep Seamus in there to be a good option for now.
Yeah, I've been quite impressed with him. I think the problem is as well, people sort of beckon back to the good old days where he'd be up and down the line and stuff. But he's 35 now. I think he's 35, 34, 35.
He's not that player anymore. But he's definitely improved the defensive side of his game, 100%.
I was going to say, when you look at players taking him on, he's done well against a number. Wilfred Zaha earlier in the season, he did really well against the likes of him. He has done really well.
Ireland as well.
Yeah, and he's managed. I mean, the Leeds goal. Apparently he meant it. He said, didn't he? He said, didn't see anyone wrap my foot round it. Which in that case, it's an incredible goal if you mean it. I think there might have been a little bit of luck in it, but I've been pleasantly surprised with him. He doesn't look quite. I think last season, at times he looked way past the pace for the Premier League, but this season a lot better. Maybe it's the fact he's been asked to do less under Frank Lampard in a five. Your fullbacks are expected to get up and down, aren't they? Which I think is a little bit too much to be asking of him in his current twilight years. Moving on, we've got James Tarkowski, obviously a new signing. Give me your thoughts on him. I think he's one of the more popular defenders we have.
I think he's one of the more consistent players we've had all season. Can't remember him even missing a game, to be honest, even after, Conor Coady's lost his place in the team. Sean Dyche obviously loves him. He's managed him before. They've got a big history together. So, I think Tarkowski's played well. He obviously scored that really good important goal against Arsenal. At times, maybe could have done better in places. But look, if you're for a team that are 17th in the league, no player's going to be perfect. So, I think Tarkowski's one of those players I'm impressed with what he's done. Maybe if we had better players around and be higher up in the league, I certainly think he's not the sort of player that deserves to be down there. I think he's one of the better players we have. So I think, if we were, I think he, struggling to put it, I think for a team in the position that we are, I don't think it's all down to James Tarkowski. I think he's been one of the better players, and I think he could definitely hold his own. If he was playing for a team in the top half of the Premier League as well. Unfortunately, at the moment, that's not us. But I think he's someone that we need to keep hold of. We need to look after, because I think he'll go on to be one of those experienced players that we're going to cherish in the next few seasons. So yeah, I'm impressed with Tarkovsky, to be honest. When he came in, I thought, okay, might not be the best sign, it might not be the worst, but to be fair, I really enjoyed watching him. I think he's played really well. And it's been a while since we've had, that really big centre half who has commanded his place in the team, and we've seen it a lot, haven't we? Where we were just constantly changing centre backs. To have one who's always in there this season, it's been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's nice to have him as a reliable centre back. He also offers something from corners that I don't think we've seen in a while. Not since Yerry Mina obviously hasn't been able to stay fit, but it's just the ability to header, somebody to aim for in the corners, the amount of goals or chances we get from them, whether he scores them or they come off him eventually, or he gets a knockdown. He's just a man mountain to aim for. And I like you said, I think he's one of the ones that can hold his head high this season. I don't think 17th is down to James Tarkowski at all. Moving on, we have Conor Coady. Interesting one because obviously we can make that permanent. Whether the club decide to or not, I think ultimately depends on, even though it's quite cheap, probably depends on if we stay up for one. But two, depends on the manager now. Frank Lampard played him a bit. Sean Dyche recently hasn't favoured him. Give me your thoughts on Conor Coady. I thought he started his season with us very, very well.
Yeah, I tweeted yesterday, actually, I think it's time to bring him back into the team. I think, obviously, having Michael Keane in, fair play, I wasn't expecting Keane to do very well. He come in and he's done pretty well, but I think on Saturday it wasn't one of his better performances. So I think having Conor Coady in there just a bit safer. I know he made a really bad mistake against Aston Villa. Not really bad, but he was at fault definitely for one of their goals. I'd bring him back in, and if the option's there, I'd make him permanent. I think I see people talking about he's not good. Maybe he's not good enough for us. But I think people are forgetting where we are in the league. We're not Champions League contenders anymore. And if players like Conor Coady come across the table and want to stay, and there's a contract there for them on a decent fee, you have to take it. You can't. It's not like the days where when we were signing players like, Distan and Lescott, and we were going, okay, let's get players, and there's a certain bar that we don't want to fall below. If you can get safe centre halves and who fit Sean Dyche's system, I'm not going to turn them down at all. At the moment, it's all about results over fancy playing out the back, tiki taka stuff. Of course, be nice to have that, but if a good reliable Premier League centre half who's captained the team at the highest level, plays against some of the best teams, and obviously has come in and done well for us. If there's an option to make that permanent, I certainly would do it, because I don't think for £5 million you're going to get a better centre half than him.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he's a really intelligent player as well. Sometimes his positioning, especially earlier on in the season, the way he just positions himself during the attacks is really intelligent. I think that's something Michael Keane lacks. Obviously, Michael Keane has the more physical presence, but I think he lacks that defensive awareness that Conor Coady does. Speaking of Michael Keane, now obviously come back in recently. I think we all thought for a long time his Everton career was done. He was linked with loan moves in January. They never transpired. We thought he was just going to sit it out. But obviously under Sean Dyche is back in. Give me your thoughts on Michael Keane's return to the 11.
I think he'll probably move on in the summer. I think if anyone's going to move on this summer, I think it's got to be Keane's time, not just for us, but for him. I think he needs to look at somewhere else, maybe. I know David Moyes is a fan of him. Perhaps now with Sean Dyche being in, he might give him a bit more of a chance, as he has done the last few games. But I think it's more an issue with Michael Keane himself. I think he needs to look. I think in the right system, he's definitely he can definitely be a really useful player in the Premier League. But I just fear maybe that our system isn't going to be one that'll fit him quite right. Obviously, with Sean Dyche coming in, he was his manager at Burnley. But it's easy to say that, but that was 6-7 years ago, wasn't it? And players change and managers change in that time. It's not always just I've managed you before years ago. You're going to still fit into my plans. It's not that case, Football moves on, new systems come in, new formations, players change, players get fitter, players get less fit, players get injuries. For me, I think Michael Keane, he's got quite a few highlights from his time at Everton, but I would not be surprised if he moves on in the summer and we can get his wages off the books. Um, I think we can, like I said, I think if it was a choice between Coady or Keane, there was a chance to get Keane's wages off the books and bring Coady in for what for a Premier League centre back is a really good fee that's being reported for him. I think that for me, I wouldn't be happy if he left, but it's certainly a player I think that at this point now he's probably the last generation of Everton players. Probably needs to move on. And when you talk about when you, I'll put it like this: when someone says Michael Keane to you, you'll think about lockdown, and you'll think about Bernard and Allen and players like that. You're not going to think about Nathan Patterson, Connor Coady, and Amadou Onana because he's past his time. And Everton, I think he's been here too long. I think he needs a change more than us, but well, certainly we do as well. But I think he could definitely. I think his career needs to kick on, but I don't know if Everton's the correct place for him.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think he's been here what now since 2017. He's seen out a lot of managers, which is a very common criticism for a lot of players. Well, used to be a lot of players. Now there's just like you said, it's him, Yerry Mina, who we'll get onto in a minute. Then the likes of the lads that came through when they were younger, Tom Davis. I think they're the only three now that I can think that have. Oh, and obviously Seamus Coleman, who, to be fair, I'll last most of them. But I think he is one of those that you think back of not so fondly of. And he's still got plenty of years. He's only 30. He's got another couple of 3-4 years left at the top level, maybe if he's lucky. So I think if we can definitely move him on.
It'll be a case of he'll be pretty fondly remembered at Goodison, I think. He joined that same summer as Pickford and Rooney and Klaassen and Sandro and Sigurdsson and all those. So, to be at no player who's at Everton for 7 years is a bad player. That's definitely the case. To be at a club and see off that many managers and always be in and around the first team, you can't complain about that. But I think for me, maybe if he was to maybe take a bit of a step up, maybe just move somewhere with a manager where there's better players around him, maybe better system that fits him better. Maybe even a move back to Burnley under Vincent Kompany might benefit him. Obviously, them now moving up to the Premier League. So, I think for Michael Keane, £30 million, I'm not sure we got our money's worth. But, he certainly had some good memories at Everton, I'd say.
Yeah, and now another player who his contract is up, and I do think this is the end of him at Everton. It's Yerry Mina. This is one of the real tough ones for me because I think the hype was around him was fair. I think he's a really, really great player. It's just a case of his body being his worst enemy, and it's such a shame for me. But give me your thoughts on Yerry Mina.
I know he's very popular, isn't he, in the dressing room between all the players? Everyone loves him. It's funny because it shows how far we've fallen as a club that we're now looking back on him and Andre Gomez signing and Marco Silva as the manager and beating United 4-0 and stuff that we're looking back on that fondly as if that's success. I think when Yerry Mina leaves, that will be for me that'll be the real thing, the turning point of okay, yeah, we're not doing very well because to me, Yerry Mina is the last real quality player left at the club who's had that that wow factor, that impressive European quality about him, if you like. I think he's the last of the players that we signed during that big splurge of cash. So when he leaves, that'll be a bit of a line in the sand, won't it? And I think that'll be, and obviously we know why this is. We keep protesting it. We keep trying to move all of these people on, but he will be the last player who leaves where we go, okay, we've now moved from the Everton that we've known for the past 20 years under Moyes and Martinez and that team who was always in the top half, always competing for Europe. We've now moved out of that phase from that sort of team to now a relegation fodder type of team. When once Yerry Mina moves on, which is an absolute shame. I think for me, I know it's a very deep way of thinking of it, but I think Yerry will move on. Of course, his injuries have just really plagued him. But yeah, he'll be remembered at Everton quite fondly. I think he scored a couple of good goals, important goals. He's always embraced the club. He's always embraced the supporters. He's always been very respectful, even when he's been out injured. So I think again that'll be moving on. I think whether we stay in this league or not, there'll be a huge clear out, and I think he'll be one of those that we'll have to sacrifice.
Yeah, he is. I think him. I can't remember who the other two are, but he is one of the joint three highest earners in our squad. I love before. I can't remember the other two. I think maybe Iwobi's one of them. So obviously it makes sense if he can't, unfortunately can't stay fit. But like you said, it is a shame, and he is a massive character. I know him and Richarlison were very close. And when we're winning, obviously there's I think Iwobi it is, whose his Snapchat is sometimes behind the scenes, and it's worth following just for that. And Yerry Mina is always the most jubilant one. Well, I don't, and also like you said, he's respectful. I think last was it this season's dragged. I think it was just before the January or just after when the cars were being stopped outside Goodison. Anthony Gordon's was stopped. Yerry Mina, I'm pretty sure, got out and spoke to the fans. Got out of his door, hung out of his door, sort of spoke to the fans, was respectful, wasn't, which is big on him, because if somebody was stopping me from getting home while me and my partner were in the car, I'd be quite annoyed. So, and he
Yeah,
wasn't playing either, so, and hasn't played this much, so I don't think you can fully go at Yerry Mina's door with we're in trouble because of you. So the fact he was so nice about it says a lot about his character. Because, like I said, if I'd only played a couple of games this season, wasn't really down to me where we are, and people were stopping me going home, I'd be quite annoyed.
yeah. I think he started one game, didn't he, against Chelsea in the first game. Um, so yeah, I think he'll be one of those players if he does leave then. And if he comes back to Goodson, he'll always get a round of applause. He'll always be one of those. He'll always be fondly remembered. For Evertonians around our age as well, we don't just shows to old. This is what I always say to Evertonians older than my dad and my granddad. I always say this is my idea of Everton. This is Sigurdsson scoring the equaliser at Anfield, or maybe stuff like that, or getting to the semi final when Lukaku scored against Chelsea. They're the memories we have. But now we cling on to players like Yerry Mina. Not to say he's a bad player, but a player who's made one appearance all season, and we're showing him off like this is one of our best players. He's our highest earner. That's how Everton's run at the moment.
Yeah, it's honestly, I mean, it's evident of why we need, like you said, why there's protests and why there's a need for change quite high up. The next one we've got is Mason Holgate. I'm honestly not too sure about this one, because I don't think we've seen an awful lot of him this season. I think he's only made like 5 appearances, is it? So it's going to be a bit tough to judge him on this one. So we might have to go with just his Everton career as a whole. Give me your thoughts on Mason Holgate, though. He's a player as well that's been at the club for a couple of years now. I don't think he's pushed on quite the way that we all hoped when we signed him from Barnsley.
Yeah, I think he's the last Roberto Martinez signing, isn't he? That's still with us. The way I look at Mason Holgate is, if we stay in the league, I'd get rid of him, and if we go down, I'd try and keep him, because in the Championship, I think he'd be a decent player. He could probably play in a few more positions. Um, I think he is just one of those, and I've just said it then. I tried to make it sound nice, but he's a Championship player. Same with a few players in the squad. Um, so yeah, he asked me again after the Bournemouth game, and if we're going down, I think he'd be probably in the starting 11 then.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a bit versatile. I think he can play right back and CDM. Not that he does it very often, which is very reminiscent of the next man I'm going to mention. And I can't believe that this next player is only a year younger than Mason Holgate. I thought he was a lot younger than this. It's Ben Godfrey, a lad that, again, this season has had a bit of ups and downs because of his injury. He's only played 11 games, but I think his whole Everton career, it's sort of, I don't know, ups and downs. I'm expecting a kick, a kick off and then a continuous one. But yeah, give me your thoughts on Ben Godfrey.
When
Because
he
he has the talent.
Yeah, when he first signed, we were all like, "This lad's the next big thing, isn't he?" He's had a few injuries since then. I really like Godfrey. I'd keep him in the starting, in and around the starting 11 now. I think he's a luxury player for us. I think he's very good. I think he always impresses me when he plays. He can play all across that back line. I'd do everything, bend over backwards to keep him at the club because I think we'll probably get a few offers for him in the summer. So yeah, Ben Godfrey's one of them that I'd want to keep hold of. I think he's a level above the likes of Mason Holgate and Michael Keane for me. Um, yeah, so I think with probably him, Tarkowski, and possibly Coady are going to be come the summer our best centre back options, which isn't too bad. It'll just be the rest of the team that'll need to be strengthened up because I don't think our defences, the players we have in defence, are necessarily bad. I just think the team is so dysfunctional. They're having to work so hard. Just like I think Jordan Pickford's one of the better goalkeepers in the league, but you can doesn't matter how good your goalkeeper is if your defence is awful. So, um, he's facing a lot of shots. He's probably made more saves than anyone just because teams can play through us so easily. So, no, I think if there's one thing to take from this video, it's that I think Tarkovsky, Coady, and Godfrey, they're the three that I think are probably our best bet for centre back, unless we can find somewhere to find another centre half who might have a bit more of a, I don't know, a bit younger, a bit more flair, something like that. But for me, them three will be in. I know Sean Dyche is very much a forward the back type of fella, but we've seen before he's gone five in midfield. If he wants to move five into defence, them three look pretty solid for me.
Yeah, it's worth. We are the next three are fullbacks, so it's worth just quickly mentioning as well. I mean, he won't. I think this is just for this season, and it won't happen this season. But moving on, we'll mention him briefly. Next season, we do have Gerard Branthwaite back. Whether he stays with us because he's gone in his stocks rose, I think, since he's gone out to the Eredivisie. United are looking at him. Liverpool are supposedly looking at him. I don't think we sell to them. Not when the likes of United have got the money and come sniffing. He might stay, he might not, but it's worth mentioning that he's another really good centre back, showing a lot of promise.
Yeah.
Bit of a man mounted as well. He's about the same height as Tarkowski. So it's worth noting that whatever happens, if we stay up, maybe we can keep him. We'll have him there as well as a fourth one, and then we've got four very good centre backs. Then if we can ship Mina, Keane, and Holgate out.
Yeah, I think Branthwaite obviously scored that goal against Chelsea last season. Like you said, his stock's risen since he's been with PSV Eindhoven in the Eredivisie. I expect maybe them to come in and try and bring him in. Like you said, Man United's interested in him, but for me, I think I'd bring him back, give him a chance. Can't be worse than what we've put up this season already. He's had a few good. Spells. He's had this spell abroad, and he had a good spell last season for us. So. We see it quite often with players. He's at that age now where they'll be wanting to kick on. He's been abroad. I think we see it a lot with players going out on loan to a different country, with English players coming back, and they're doing really well. We've seen now Chelsea have signed Madueke. We've seen it with Jadon Sancho. Obviously, he hasn't quite hit the heights at United yet, but still a good player. Jude Bellingham's gone out there and performed really well, and we expect him to move into England again this summer. So for me, Branthwaite going to the Netherlands, where obviously we've seen. I was watching the Europa League the other night, seeing Feyenoord. The fans are fantastic. They're really really fantastic league to play football in. So for him to get that experience and come back to us, I'd welcome it with open arms.
Yeah, I think it'd be really good. And I think he's got a promising future. I think he's another one that when you look at him, like I feel more optimistic about his potential than I did when we signed Holgate, for example. And that's, I mean, you can say that's easy to say in hindsight, but I just think the build he is like, it's like a proper centre backs build as well.
Yeah, he's tall as well. I think he's left-footed also, isn't he, Branthwaite? So
Yeah,
always
that's what I
useful.
mean. So to have him, like maybe like him, if you had like him and Tarkowski, there's just two absolute mountains just sat there at the back.
Mhm.
Either either foot played on the side that they're playing, so it'd be really good. Moving on though, we have got fullbacks now. We'll go with the lone man, Ruben Vinagre. Not too sure if he really exists. Um, Two appearances, 24 minutes played. He's the El Ghazi of this season, isn't he?
Yeah, to be honest, he's actually got into the squad on my football manager save, and I don't have a clue what to do with him because he's just I've never watched him play. No, he's a he's a strange one, isn't he? Like it is. It's coming after every year. There's these signings. You could probably have a whole video about that. El Ghazi last season, I don't think played. I think maybe played 10 minutes or something like that. Before that, you had people like weird signings like Joshua King the year before. That was a weird one. Moise Keane, just players who come to Everton and just don't seem to click with the club at all. But Venega, he'll be one of them, won't he? He'll probably just end up moving on, maybe go back home to Portugal in the summer and try and reignite his career. But yeah, that's a weird one. I'd be moving him on, maybe promoting someone from the academy for next season.
Yeah, well, the next one is the other left back. We'll get onto the one that's on loan after, but it's Vitaly Mikalenko. Obviously, came from the Ukraine, came during a tough time as well. His time in Everton, I'm going to say has been good up until I think he struggled recently. But up until
Mhm.
then, I think we said on the channel, me, Terry, and a couple of the other lads, and this is with the most respect, and I think it's actually a compliment. He's like a 6.8 every game type of player.
Yeah,
And that's not a bad thing to have. I'd wish every player on our team had 6.8 consistency every game. We probably wouldn't be in this mess if everyone was giving out like that level of
yeah,
performance every game because it's just above standard.
yeah. I
But give
think
me your thoughts on
with
him because you said you like
um,
him.
yeah, no, I think with Mikalenko, he's always for me. We talked about it when he came into the team. Um, Obviously, he came in replaced Luca Dean, so that was big shoes for him to fill. Um, it came across very quick that he came into the side. He was signed in a January. Luca Dean came out. He was a fan favourite, sort of kicked out by Rafa Benitez. So I think from the beginning he was sort of on the back foot. He gave some really impressive performances in the second half of last season. He scored that great goal against Leicester, which probably I think kept us up. They were probably the most important 3 points we got last season. So he's been playing well again this season. He's gone through a tough patch. He's come out the team. Godfrey's come in and done well in those games he's played. He come in on Saturday and he was hung out to dry a little bit. I think he needs a bit more of a bleeding back into the team. Look, of course, he's not as good as some of the fullbacks we've had, but I think again, I said it in the Fulham video. Um, if we are going to have sorry, I said it in this video about Connor Coady. Look, we are not challenging for the top four. We are not challenging for Europe. We are not even challenging for the top half recently. If you're going to turn your nose up and play like Vitaly Mikalenko, okay, I'd like to see you go and try and find a better left back um, with the funds that we've got. And again, it comes back to that Yerry Mina thing. We're past that. We're past that point of splurging 30 million on each player. Um, he's probably the best we're going to be able to access for the time being. So yeah, I'd keep Mikalenko for the foreseeable.
Yeah, I agree. He's only 23 as well. It's a new league. He's got plenty of time to improve. There is also worth mentioning that, like same with Branthwaite and Kunku will come back at the end of this season. Whether we decide to keep him or ship him off, again, a bit like Branthwaite, depends on the division. Only works the other way. I think if we go down, there's probably a place in Kunku for here. If we stay up, I think we might try and look for somebody else. From what I've seen of him, I don't think he's a left back. I think he's like a wing back or
Mm.
maybe winger. I feel like defensively he's very susceptible, and I think he bombs forward. Almost with no fear, which is brilliant if you had him as a winger or you had somebody to cover for him when he does it. But in a flat four, you don't want your left back doing that. We see it sometimes with and their fans will let me say this, but you see Robertson do it sometimes, and it leaves them in a right mess. At Liverpool, you see him bomb forward, and then he's just absolutely exposed on the turnover. So I think that's worth mentioning, though, that we do have him back. The next one is Nathan, and the final defender is Nathan Patterson. Young lad, looked good when he came in. I think we've mentioned it a couple of times in this video. Got his injury, that put him out for a bit. Just getting back now, isn't he? But again, 21 years old, plenty of time for him to improve.
Yeah, I like Patterson. I think in the first half of the season he was really good. He played really well in a lot of the games he did. Got injured, came out. Seamus came in. Seamus really played well, having that competition behind him. Not really competition with Patterson being injured. You have to step up in some of them important games. I think Patterson's one of those where he'll be someone that we just need to keep nurturing. I think he's one of our younger, more exciting talents. Really good at going forward, puts a great ball in. Yeah, I like him. Not much to say about Nathan Patterson. We've seen him in a few games this season. Coming last season, obviously Frank Lampard given his chance. I expect Dyche to probably bring him back in as well. More beginning of next season now, I think, like I said, against Fulham. I think Coleman will probably stay in now for the rest of the season. The rest of these games are just too big to mess about with the team. We need to go with the tried and tested formula. But no, he's good. I think he's definitely worthy of taking over from Seamus Coleman as the number one right back for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think people need to sort of just remember he's had an injury. He's 21 years old. You know, some footballers at 25 look like they're not good enough, and then have a rejuvenation by like 28. So you can never really count them out, but especially not at that age. So I think the next big one before we finish the video is give me your preferred defence. Say now everybody's fit, everybody can play. We'll exclude the lone lads. You still can't have them, but everyone that's currently registered is fit. Who would you play in the defence as Everton's best defence?
Everton's best defence right now is probably Seamus Coleman, James Tarkowski, Ben Godfrey, and Vitaly Mykolenko. But I think bringing Connor Coady in for Godfrey and moving Godfrey over to left back, we've seen that work as well. I think that one's probably the one that gives the most balance. But of course, I think Ben Godfrey's good enough to play anywhere across that defence, and I think Connor Coady also. It'd be harsh on me to say that he doesn't deserve a place in our best back four with some of the performances he's put in this season. So yeah, between Godfrey and Coady for that final centre back spot, and then I think given recent games, I think I'd play Godfrey at left back over Mykolenko for the last few games if he's fit. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was the exact same as you when you said Godfrey. I was like, maybe that's the one where maybe Coady comes in. The only other one, and it's really tough to say because you just know he'd play and he'd get injured, but I still think he is one of our best centre backs, if not the is Yerry Mina. But it's hard to pick him because I know I said they're all fit, but you just know you can't rely on him, especially not when it's where we are. We've got to rely on.
I haven't seen it. Do you know what, Connor? I can't remember how good he is.
Well, I was going to say I can't remember the last time we saw him.
If you're asking me to pick a back four for the rest of the season, I wouldn't have Yerry Mina in there because I just think you've got 7 games left to save your Premier League status. Bring the player in who hasn't played for 29 of them. It's a big ask, isn't it? So
yeah, especially when he could play one and be out for the other 6. Like it's just a cold. You want people you can depend on. And like you said, Tarkowski stays fit. I don't think he's picked up an injury yet with us, touch wood. Connor Coady's had a very good record with us as well, health-wise. Godfrey hasn't, but I mean, Godfrey's injury was unfortunate and a freak one. It's not that it's a fitness problem, it was a freak accident. So I'd have to agree with you that that is probably Everton's strongest back four. I would go and swap. I would do what you were suggesting and swap Godfrey for Coady and stick Godfrey at left back just because I think his pace is a little bit better. I mean, he's not naturally left-footed, which is a bit of a disadvantage, but I think his pace is up there. But
Mm.
yeah, that's all we've got time for. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your best four. Give us your best back four. We look forward to reading them. Can't imagine them much different to ours, but look forward to reading them. There'll always be one that has an absolute mad back four from somewhere. So yeah, and we'll see you guys very soon.